This is it. We are at the finish line for the 2025 Kentucky Derby prep races. The 100-point races are over. And next stop, we're going to Keeneland. It's the Lexington Stakes, 1.16 miles on the dirt in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, in this race, the points are only 20. Only 20 points are awarded to the winner. And what that means is none of the horses in this field are sitting on the bubble, where 20 points are going to put them into the starting gate for Kentucky Derby 151. But hey, where would you rather be than Keeneland in the springtime? So we're going to look at all 9 runners, and many of them have not been on the Kentucky Derby trail. Are you ready to find your winner? Facts and figures are going to give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra, and we're going to go through all 9 runners of the Lexington Stakes. Now, you don't have time to hear all 9. Just remember, I'm a podcast on YouTube Music, and that means you could take me anywhere you want to go. And also, I have timestamps below. Just slide to the horse you're most interested in. Ooh, and I have a secret. Won't be a secret for very long. I'm going to be at the Lexington Stakes. So if you're there and you see me, just come up and say hi. Let's start with the pace. Now, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of pace in this race. And what that means is the front runners should do really well. The front runners for this race are the number 4, Rolando, the number 6, Gosger, and the number 7, Praetor. Now, the number 4 horse, Rolando, and the number 9 horse, Touchy, just ran earlier this week. So I'm not really sure they're going to be in the Lexington Stakes, but just in case, we're going to cover them. First up is Hard as Life, trained by Michelle Nei and ridden by Sophie Doyle. 6 starts, 1 win and 1 place. Now this horse has been on the Kentucky circuit, Kentucky Downs, Turfway, Churchill, Keeneland, all on the grass and the synthetic. His one and only win was on the grass, a mile at Churchill Downs. There, he got brushed at the start. He was mid-pack, made a bid, and won. Then went to an $82,000 allowance race on the synthetic at Turfway and came in second, but earned his best buyer of a 74. Then in January, went to the Leonidas Stakes, a mile race on the synthetic at Turfway, and there was a disappointing 6th, behind Baby Max and Chunk of Gold, who were on the Kentucky Derby trail. Now this horse is lacking speed. His best buyer, being a 74, is a click below the rest. So me, personally, I'll be looking at other horses in the race. The number 2 horse has a very fitting name for this time of the year. It's Bracket Buster. Trained by Victoria Oliver, he'll be ridden by Manny Franco. 4 starts, 1 win and 1 show. Now, we have not seen this horse for 167 days, and he will be making his 3-year-old debut. His one and only win came at this track and this distance. It was a $100,000 maiden race. He was 31-1. Talk about a bracket buster. He dueled around the turn, he dueled down the stretch, and he won by a neck. Then he goes to the G3 Street Sense Kentucky Derby prep race. That's at Churchill Downs, 1.16 miles. He comes in 5th, 9 lengths behind Kentucky Derby 151 superstars of Sovereignty, Tistastic, and Sandman. He's been training since February and has some bullet workouts, but I want you to note that some of his workout times are a click below the rest. Now he has a win at this track in this distance, and I like that. And I also like the fact that he had to battle those superstars of Sovereignty, Tistastic, and Sandman, but also note his speed at 77 is a click below the rest. He would have to improve to see a win at this race, but also he's making his 3-year-old debut. The number 3 horse is Bullard, and he has team journalism behind him. And if you don't know who journalism is, well, he's going to be one of the favorites in Kentucky Derby 151. Trained by Michael McCarthy, he'll be ridden by Umberto Rispoli. 28% win rate together. This horse, Bullard, has 3 starts, 2 wins, and 1 show. And what that means is he's always been on the board. He was supposed to be in the Rebel, one of the more competitive Kentucky Derby prep races, but a fever knocked him out. He began his career at Del Mar, a 6-furlong maiden race, and he won by a length and a quarter. Then he goes to the G3 Bob Hope, 7 furlongs. And in that race, He was against Madacat Road, who was on the Kentucky Derby Trail and recently was in the Florida Derby, and also competed against Mackenzie Street. That day, he was the 1-1 favorite, and he did not disappoint. He started way in the back. He was like 6 lengths behind. The pace in front of him, blazing hot, 21 and change for the first quarter. And Bullard, in the stretch, bam, just takes off and wins by 4 lengths, 89 buyer. Next, he goes to the G2 San Vicente, also 7 furlongs, and he's also 1-1. He's a co-favorite, but Bob Baffert's Barnes. And in that race, he also had a lot of pace to run into. Barnes and Mackenzie Street were going at it up in the front, but Barnes got the best of him that day, and he finishes 3rd, 6 lengths behind with an 82 buyer. Now, if this was last weekend, before the Santa Anita Derby, I would have said, no harm in defeat. Barnes is a very solid horse. Barnes went on to the San Felipe and registered a 105 buyer. But last week, and maybe he just had a bad day, but it was a really bad day, Barnes finished last in the Santa Anita Derby with a 73 buyer. Now, he will need to improve his speed to compete with the other horses, but he only has 3 starts, and we haven't seen him since January. And he's been training consistently following that fever in March. Now the question's going to be, can he get the distance? He's never run the mile and a 16th. Well, he's by Gunrunner, and Gunrunner did win at the longer distances, and he has progeny that has won at the longer distances. The number 4 horse is Rolando. Now, he's one of the horses that I said at the beginning of the show ran earlier this week and may not be in this race. And all of the stats I'm going to give you is prior to that race. He's trained by Fausto Gutierrez and will be ridden by Johnny Velasquez. Now, get this, 6 starts, 3 wins, 1 place, 2 shows, always on the board. But what I want you to note is most of his races are at the shorter distances, 6 furlongs and 7 furlongs. But his running style really suits this race. He's one that's going to be on or near the lead. His last 2 starts were winners. At Gulfstream in a 6 furlong, $96,000 allowance race, he won by 4. He was driving and earned an 89 buyer. Then he goes to the Hutchinson Stakes, also at Gulfstream, also 6 furlongs. Now there, he had to dig in and show some grit. Multiverse took aim at him, and they dueled, but he dug in, and he got the win by a neck and earned a 90 buyer. He's got the speed. Can he get the distance? That's the big question. He was in a mile allowance race in February, came in 3rd behind River Thames. River Thames just finished 3rd in the Bluegrass. And in that race, he had some pace, but he couldn't hold it, and he finished 3rd. He's by Vekoma, and Vekoma has moderate stats for dirt routers. So he's got the speed, but can he get the distance? The number 5 horse is Native Runner. Trained by Kenny McPeek, he'll be ridden by Jose Ortiz. 6 starts, 2 wins, 1 show. And guess what? Those 2 wins, last 2 races. First was a $29,000 maiden race, this distance at the fairgrounds. And in that race, he got bumped at the start. He was way in the back, 12 lengths off. Got to the rail, kind of snuck up the rail, and won by a nose and got a 70 buyer. Stays at the fairgrounds. $28,000 allowance race, a mile and 70 yards. And in that race, again, he uses the rail. He had to dig in, shook off a foe, and won by 4 lengths and significantly improved his buyers to the 80s. Now, we have seen improvement in him, and we have seen a win at this distance, but the class of horse he's been running against, mid-pack. Also, his last 4 starts and his 2 wins, he had Lasix, and this time, Lasix off. And what that means is that medication change could make a difference. The number 6 horse is Gosger. Now, this is going to be one of your horses on or near the lead. Brendan Walsh is the trainer. Irad Ortiz is the jockey, and together they have a 33% win rate. 2 starts, only 2 starts. That means this horse has a lot of upside, a win and a place. He began his career in December, $65,000 maiden race, 6 furlongs. He hit the gate. He was off slow. The pace in front of him, blazing hot. He gets a big rally, and he was able to come in second with a 73 buyer. He stays at Gulfstream in a $94,000 mile maiden race. In a field of 9, he drew post position 9. He's on the outside. He had to speed up to get to second, but when they went around the turn, boom, he wins. 88 buyer. Now that buyer does put him in the mix, and he's improving. And with only 2 starts, he's got a lot of upside. So the question's going to be, can he get the distance? Well, he's by Nyquist, and Nyquist did win at the longer distances, and he's by a Tapit mare. And Tapit was also known for winning and producing progeny that wins at the longer distances. Now, he will be coming off Lasix, and that could make a difference, but with the breeding, the speed, the potential improvement, it looks like he may be a contender in this race. The number 7 horse is Praetor. Trained by Chad Brown, he gets top rider Flavien Prat. 3 starts, 2 wins, 1 show. Always been on the board, and again, 3 starts, has a lot of upside. Now let's start with this horse's breeding. He's by Into Mischief out of a Keeneland mare. Into Mischief is just stamping his way along Kentucky Derby 151 as a sire of many of the horses that are entering the starting gate. And we know all about Keeneland and the progeny that he has given us at the longer distances. Now, I was looking at his past performances, and when I got to his second start at Belmont at Aqueduct, I had to do a double take. He went gate to wire in a mile race and earned a 90 buyer. That's impressive, but that's not what caused the double take. Do you know who he beat? Sovereignty. Yes, Sovereignty. The horse that's in Kentucky Derby 151 will probably be one of the favorites for Kentucky Derby 151, won the Fountain of Youth, and came in second in the Florida Derby. That's Sovereignty. I actually had to watch the race just to make sure it was the same horse. Praetor won by a neck. Now that race was in September. Fast forward to March, his 3-year-old debut. $96,000 mile allowance race. And in that race, he was forwardly placed. Super hot pace. The first half was 45 and 84. When he ran around the turn, there was no looking back. He was gone by 7 lengths. Now, he only got a 79 buyer. It was a very visually impressive race, but his speed wasn't really that fast. And when you look at the horses he beat, they were moderate contenders. But it was the debut of his 3-year-old season, and he has the 90 buyer, and he has the win against Sovereignty. And with his breeding, he should be able to get the distance, and he's got top connections with Chad Brown and Flavien Prat. In my opinion, he's a contender. The number 8 horse is Hypnus. Trained by Kenny McPeek, he'll be ridden by Luis Saez. 3 starts, 1 win. Now this horse has been running against some of the best 3-year-olds we've seen in Coal Battle and Tistastic and Sandman. He didn't start racing until he was 3. He won his first race at the fairgrounds. This distance, a $60,000 main race. Now it was a sloppy track that day. He was off the pace. He had to split foes, but he got the win by 2.5 lengths. Then he goes to the Rebel, one of the very best Kentucky Derby prep races we have seen. A mile and a 16th at Oaklawn. In a field of 13, he got caught up in a lot of traffic and finishes 7th. Kenny McPeek doesn't give up on him. He wants to keep him on the Kentucky Derby trail. Sends him to the Louisiana Derby, a mile and 3/16 at the fairgrounds. And there he was no threat and came in 7th again. Now all of his buyers have been in the 80s. So here's some things I want you to consider. Here's a pro. With his buyers in the mid-80s and with only 3 starts, he does have some upside. Also, he's been running against some very classy horses. Here's another pro. He's by Into Mischief. And as I mentioned before, Into Mischief is just stamping his way into Kentucky Derby 151, being the sire of numerous horses. Another thing to consider, he's getting blinkers for the first time. And with that type of equipment change, it may help him focus. Now, here's one con I want you to consider, the pace. If the pace favors front runners, it may not favor Hypnus. The number 9 horse is Touchy, and this is another horse that may not be in this race because he raced earlier this week. And just like Rolando, I'm going to give you stats prior to that race. He's trained by Wesley Ward. He'll be ridden by Joel Rosario, and Wesley Ward is always dangerous at Keeneland, 27% win rate. Now, 4 of his starts have been at the shorter distances, 6.5 furlongs and under. In October, in a $100,000 maiden race here at Keeneland, 6.5 furlongs. In a field of 11, he won by 3 to 4 lengths. He's very patient in that race, and he shot up the rail and got the win. And he won over Mo Quality. And Mo Quality went on to finish second behind Coal Battle in the Smarty Gems. Then he goes to the Turfway Preview Stakes, 6.5 furlong race. And in that race, again, he came up the rail and got second. Goes to the Sunland Park Derby. This distance, and if you remember that race, that was the race between Bob Baffert's getaway car and Caldera. They dueled through that whole race. And Touchy, he came in third, 9 lengths behind, with a 78 buyer. He will need to improve his speed to get into the winner's circle for this race. Can he get the distance? Well, he's already gone the distance in the Sunland Park Derby, and he's by Nyquist, who won the Kentucky Derby. Now it's your turn. Tell me who you like. Drop me a comment below. Hit like, hit subscribe. And remember, this isn't ending with the Derby. We have the Preakness, the Belmont, Saratoga. Oh, and if you see me Saturday, come up, say hi. We will sashay away with our money. Until next time, cheers.